this is weird, but it's okay. We will make it work. We are going to start fractions, which is personally my favorite part of 4th grade math, just because I think it's so interesting, and plus it makes me feel really smart, so hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as I do. Before we start, we're going to go over the vocabulary like we always do. We have 5 new vocabulary words for this unit on fractions: denominator, equivalent fractions, fraction, numerator, and unit fraction. So if you guys could get your math dictionary that you brought home, start with that. Oh, wait a second. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to write the definition, blow it up on the TV, then I'm going to have you guys pause it. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you guys to write it. So you do need to pause the video in order to copy down the definition, and then same thing for the example. And then I'm going to keep moving in the video, so you guys will need to pause the video to make sure that you can copy down the definition and the example. So I'm going to start with the denominator. I know at school we started talking about the denominator, but the denominator is the number that's on the bottom of the fraction. So the definition that we're going to write is the number below the line in a fraction that tells the number of equal parts in the whole. Alright, so what I want you to do is pause the video here, copy down this definition. There's a cat right here. Cat. I'm at my sister's house. I don't like cats. So don't mind the cat tail, but pause the video, write down this definition, and then after you're done, play it, because then we'll go over the example. Alright, the example that we're going to be using is we will use the fraction 2/3. This number down here is the denominator. Nicole, can you come grab your cat? I don't like cats. They scare me a little bit. Nicole? Can you grab a cat?
Oh, sorry. I did not think that, yeah. Come on.
Alright, so we should have all of the denominator. I'm going to be using this language a ton. We're going to find the least common denominator. We're going to find common denominators. We're going to find the greatest common, everything, okay? So make sure that you understand the difference between a numerator and a denominator. And this is the denominator, the number on the bottom. So then the next word we're going to be going over is equivalent fractions. We've talked about the word equivalent before. In the word equivalent, I see EQU, which tells me kind of like equal. So I know that they're going to be equal fractions. So the definition that we're going to write is 2 or more different fractions that name the same part of a whole or the same point on a number line. So I know equivalent fractions are the same. So pause it here, write down the definition. When you're done, hit play. Okay. I just paused so you could have a better picture of me. Okay. The example that we're going to show for this is we will have two circles. Look, I can still draw perfect circles on here. I will have this, and then I will have this. And then I'll shade in this half. Oops, that does not look good. No, don't erase the whole thing. Okay, let's make this smaller. So this is shaded, and then we will shade this as well. So then this tells me that 1/2 is equal to 2/4. We'll go over again this in a little bit of a better way in a little bit. Just copy this down. Okay. I feel like a total loser doing this, but you guys are going to be learning math, so it's going to be awesome. All right. The next word we're going to go over is what a fraction really is. I know many of you have heard the term fraction before, because I think you go over it a little bit in 3rd grade, maybe it's introduced in 2nd grade, but in 4th grade is when we really take it to the next step and we start comparing them and we start adding and subtracting them and we start multiplying them and we start doing all this kind of stuff with them. So we really, really need to understand what a fraction is. A fraction is the number of a fraction is a number that names equal parts of a whole. Okay, so it's parts of a whole. So let's write that definition down under our fraction. So it is a number that names a part of a whole. Alright, so pause that and write it down. Okay. I think I'm being really cool by posing when you pause, so make sure you do that. Okay, next is our example. I'm just going to write a number of fractions. I'll do 2/3. I'll write down 7/8. I'll write down 1/2. And I'll write down, let's do 3/4. Okay, bunch of different fractions separated by a comma, because when you list fractions and numbers, you want to make sure you separate it with a comma. So just write this down, pause it, copy it down for the list of fractions. Alright, so before we talked about the denominator on the bottom, now we're going to talk about the numerator, which is the number on top. The numerator is the number of parts. It's above the line in a fraction, and it's talking about how many equal parts we're talking about, okay? So it's the number above the fraction line that tells talks about the equal parts that are being described. Again, my handwriting is not the best. Are we shocked? No, but that's okay. So pause it, write down the definition, and moving on to the example. The example, I'm going to use the same example that we did here, 2/3. So 2/3, labeling the 2 as the numerator. Write it down. We're good to go. All right, the last one that we are going to be talking about is a unit fraction. The unit fraction is a fraction with a numerator of 1. Other fractions are built from unit fractions. So, it's a fraction with a numerator of 1. Other fractions are built on unit fractions. So pause it and write. And our example will be something like 1/7. This is a unit fraction because everything will be built upon that 1/7. So 2/7 would be 2 1/7, 3/7 would be 3 1/7, and so on and so forth. So pause it and write it. Now we have all of our vocabulary for this lesson 17 on understanding equivalent fractions. So understanding that some fractions mean the same thing. All right.